to be the mother of a son. Okay? This is our study where we pick it up. The Bible clearly tells us in Genesis chapter number 17. Let's look at that, if you will, please. Sarah is to be the mother of a son. God said to Abraham, notice, first time Moses has used the name Abraham. He'd been calling Abram up until this point. But Moses, who is writing this about 400 years after the fact, has felt impressed of the Lord to use that full name, Abraham. Moses was led to use it, his new name. Sarah, your wife, you shall not call her name Sarai, but Sarah, which means the princess, her name shall be. So he incorporates both changes, both name changes in that one verse right there. This is God speaking to Abraham. And I will bless her and give you. And that word you is in English grammar, it would be emphatic. It would be bold type, underlined, emphatic. I will give to you. He points. See, Greek and Hebrew does not have body language. It's built into the language. We have body language. We would say, I'll give to you. He's emphasizing that God is talking to Abraham. I'm going to make this. I'm going to give this to you. I'll bless her, but I'm going to give you a son also. Now, what would be the significance of that word also? God speaks to Abraham. He has given the names, the changes of the names. Then he says, I'm going to bless her, Sarah, princess, but I'm going to give to you a son also. What would the significance of the word also be? What does that word mean? I'm sorry?
Inclusive.
Inclusive? All right. What is?
Does it have something to do with him already having a son?
There you go. Now, who recognized that that he already had a son? Who's speaking here? Remember the 3 rules of Bible study. Who is speaking, to whom, and why? Who is speaking? God is speaking to Abraham. And why? He's changing the name. He's also realizing and sharing, I'm going to bless her and give to you a son also. So God recognized that Abraham already had a son. Now, we might think that he was never recognized. He was recognized. Ishmael was, in fact, recognized. Ishmael is recognized by God himself. Now, I don't approve of the way they went about to get him, but God recognizes that. Of her, you're going to have a son also of her. I'm going to change your name, going to bless her, and you will have a son also of her. He's probably pointing to Sarah there. Yes, I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations, and kings of people shall be of her. Very definite promise there that Sarah's going to be the mother of a son also. God's promises are getting more and more specific now as we come on in. I'm going to make of you a great nation. All right, we got that. Then I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And now that I'm going to give to you also a son by her. Very definite promise there. Verse number 16. Anytime you have a comment, jump right in here. Abraham fell on his face and laughed. Laughed. Interesting. The word in the Hebrew is, now who's that big basketball player? Shaq? Shaquille, okay. The word in Hebrew is shahak. Shahak here. We get our word yitzhak. Yitzhak is the Hebrew word for, anybody? Isaac. Isaac. What's the son's name going to be? Isaac. And Abraham Isaaced. The word in Hebrew is the basic root of the word Isaac. It means he just laughed. He laughed out loud. Laughter from gladness. There's a strange kind of laughter. There's a polite laughness when Ronnie's telling one of his jokes. You kind of laugh politely. And then there's a laugh that you really enjoyed, a belly laugh, shall we say. That's what this is. This is a laugh from extreme gladness, and the word there is shachach, a laughter from gladness. He laughed out loud and said in his heart. What does that mean, said in his heart? Said to himself, okay. Really? A child shall be born to a man who's 100 years old? And Sarah, who's 90 years old, are you really? Is this really going to happen? He didn't speak out to God, but he was overwhelmed about this. But now he might as well spoke out to God, hadn't he? Because God heard him. God heard him. Whether he's one of those things where you can hear his life is not the same as Sarah's. Later on in 18, she laughed out of unbelief. This is not an unbelieving thing, but he's really saying, how's this going to happen here? Abraham said to God, now this is very significant, guys. Look at that. Look at verse, well, let's get it up there. Abraham said to God, I wish Ishmael could be the one. Now think about that. How did Abraham feel about Ishmael? He loved him. It's his son. He's taught him how to ride a bicycle. He's taught him how to hunt and fish and shoot a bow and arrow and all this kind of stuff. I wish Ishmael could be the one. Does that bother you? Abraham, he doesn't know what Isaac's going to be yet. He believes that it's going to happen. He laughs out of gladness, not out of lack of faith. But I wish Ishmael could be the one. God has said you're going to have a son also of her, talking about the wife there. I wish Ishmael might live before you. I would. I'm sorry, do what now?
That doesn't mean that he wants him to be the one that replaces Isaac. It just means that he wants him to live before the Lord.
So you're saying also. The word also is not in there, but I want him to live in front of you. I want him to. I wish he could do that. I wish he could. Abraham says unto, I can't hear because of this thing here that's running. Abraham said unto God, you can talk to God. I had a lady one time in my church at Wartburg. She said, no, you never doubt God. And I said, no, I don't doubt God, but doesn't God have great big shoulders? Can't you ask him why? You ever ask God why? Of course you have, if you'll be honest. We all do. I spoke to Rita today about it, and she was talking about, I don't doubt God. I don't have a doubt at all about God, but I am asking God, I'd like to have some good days. And I would too. We all would. Abraham said to God, oh, Ishmael, I wish Ishmael could stand before you. There's a little bit of a shadow on the scene there. Abraham's not going to kick him out. That's his boy. That's his son. And I guess we might say that he substituted for God to get him there. But still in all, it's as though anybody else could be just as well. But no, God knew best. God knew best. And that's the way he's going to have his answer. He's going to have his answer here. God said, okay, Sarah, your wife, shall bear you a son indeed. You shall call his name Yitzchak, Shachach, laughter, Isaac. And I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his children after him. As for Ishmael, I have heard you. I got you. I've heard you. You have blessed him. I have blessed him. I will make him fruitful. Fruitful means what? Fruitful. What does that mean? Have lots of children. I will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he beget, and I will make of him a great nation. Now, great can be large, or impressive, or other things. This means I'm going to make a large nation out of him. There's going to be at least 12 different nations with their kings coming from Ishmael through that part right there. So as we go into it, we won't be covering that as far as that goes, because that is in the story of Isaac and Jacob later on. But there were lots of nations and kings, royalties coming through Ishmael. Not going to be forgotten. God overrules his children's mistakes. Abraham made a mistake there. He's not going to kick him out. But he says, my covenant will I establish with Isaac. Don't make any mistake about it now. Isaac is my choice. Isaac is the one I have chosen. Sarah shall bear him unto you at this set time next year. So we've got a miracle about to happen here with the son Isaac to be born. My covenant I'm going to establish with Isaac. Okay? Any thoughts or comments about that thus far? All right. Abraham obeys God. This is part number D of this. Okay. There it is. Abraham obeys God. And he left off talking with him. God left off talking with him and went up from Abraham. Conversation is over, and Abraham is thinking about this thing. So Abraham took Ishmael his son, and all that were born in the house, this goes back to the lesson last week, all that were brought with money, every male among the men of Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh of the foreskin, and that selfsame day, just like God had said. It indicates that had not yet taken place, and now then he says, I wish that Ishmael could stand in front of you, could stand with you. And so clearly Isaac is going to be the one, but Ishmael is going to be blessed as well. And so Abraham acknowledges that and takes out and has that symbol administered. His obedience is just that quick, just that quick. He initiated circumcision in his company. He's making his family eligible to be the first family, shall we say, and it was very complete. Every one of the males were circumcised at that point. Even Abraham, 99 years old, when he was circumcised. Ishmael, his son, 13 years old, when he was circumcised. In the selfsame day was Abraham circumcised, and Ishmael his son, and all the men of the house, everyone in the house, all of them. That symbol, that sign gift that was given there to identify who they were. This is the first family. This is the way it's going to be. Okay? Any thoughts or comments about that? We're moving on as quickly as we possibly can, but we'll stop and talk about any part of it that you want to. Now we're looking at number 5 now, various tests of faith. There are several things that are going to happen in rapid fire order now. A test of faith, Isaac and the sacrifice and the going down to the Abimelech's land down there and all this kind. There's a lot of things that are happening now, and Abraham is going to have all of these tests coming in rapid fire, probably to prove to himself. God knows all about it, but probably to prove to himself that he can pass these tests. He's going to be known as the friend of God. And that is a high, very high title. Happy is the man who has at least one good friend. I mean, one that sticks closer to you. And he is going to be known as the friend of God. So this is a very, very serious thing. These various tests of faith that are going to happen in chapters 18, 19, and 20. You ready? Here we go. Abraham sees some divine guests coming his way. Now, I like this passage right here. We're looking at verse number 1 of chapter 18. The Lord appeared unto him. Notice the spelling of the word Lord. Who or what is that? That is his name. That is Yahweh. That is his name. Appeared unto him, Abraham, in the plains or the groves, the trees of Mamre. Mamre is one of the names of one of his friends, and he probably owned this particular. We're talking about Jericho here, basically. He sat in the door in the heat of the day. He's probably sitting at or near a place called the Cave of the Machpelah. What do we know later on is going to happen in the cave of the Machpelah? Sarah's going to be buried there, and who else? Abraham's going to be buried there, and who else? Several others in the first family are going to be buried in this cave, which is in modern day, I said Jericho a while ago, it's Hebron. Sorry about that. But he's sitting probably in the cool of the day. He hasn't yet bought this property because she hadn't died yet. But here, he's probably already established a little bit of love for this particular country. Mamre is one of his friends. In verse number 2, he lifted up his eyes, and 3 men are standing there. Doesn't say that he saw them coming for a long way off. It just says they're standing there. When he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door and bowed himself to the ground. What's that all about? You can say it. It's just common courtesy. It's just plain old common courtesy. He sees these guys. Yeah. It's just he sees these people. He doesn't know exactly yet, I don't think, who this is. We know one of them's name, right? We know that because it says in verse 1, the Lord appeared to him. So we know.
If they're bowing, it is him.
I'm sorry?
If they're bowing, it is him.
Yes, it is.
Because did the angel not tell John,
Don't
bow to me?
Don't bow to me. But Abraham doesn't know.
But this is, he doesn't know.
He doesn't know exactly who this is. We know because Moses said that the Lord appeared to him. So he saw these 3 men. He bows himself to the ground. He showed common courtesy. Have you ever, according to Hebrews 13, entertained an angel? Can you look back at something that happened in your life that probably was an angel? Huh? Yes. I don't know if you want to share anything along that line, but many times you have had encounters with angels whether you knew it or not. I have too. You say he done gone crazy, done gone charismatic. That's just biblical. The Bible clearly says that many have entertained angels unawares. There are things that have happened in your life, and some of your, I can hear, like Tom Selleck says, I know what you're thinking. I can hear it grinding up there. Something that has happened in your life that you just can't explain any other way, but it was God and probably was an angel or something like this. And these are things that are probably, it makes you want to take your shoes off your own holy ground when you think about that. He shows them respect. He's about to entertain God, deity here. He says, my Lord. Notice the spelling of the word Lord. What does that mean? Sir. This is just a title of respect, sir. He's not calling him by the name of God yet. He's not calling him by the office work of God. My Lord, sir, if I have found favor in your sight, do not pass by me, I pray, from your servant. Let a little water, I pray you, be fetched and wash your feet and recline yourselves under the shade of this tree. It's just common courtesy. He sees these 3 men. We know one of them is God, but we don't know. But he doesn't know that, I don't think yet. He says, I will fetch a morsel of bread and comfort you your hearts. Comfort you your hearts. What he's saying is, you want to get ready for supper? You want to wash your hands? You want to sit down and rest this little while here? I know it's hot and tired out there. So get ready for a meal. Let's just get ready for a meal. And after that, okay, we'll let you pass on. You can pass on. For therefore, for that purpose, for therefore you are come. You have come for this purpose, so that I can serve you. And whoever this is said, do as you have said. Now he might be beginning to understand what's going on here. After all, this is a unique relationship that Abraham has with God. But so far, all of it is a matter of common, oriental courtesy. Now look what happens. Abraham hastened into the tent unto Sarah and said, Get 3 measures of fine flour. Fine flour. I don't know whether flour comes today in grades or not. I don't know whether you probably have a brand you like, whether it's White Lily or I don't know what. When I was doing the shopping, I just got first thing I saw there, and in the size that I wanted. But measure, get fine meal. The word there is gamma sole. It means exceptional quality flour. I want you to get the best flour. Get the best we've got in the pantry in there. He's talking to Sarah. He says, knead it. What is that? Mix it up and make cakes on the hearth. Pancakes, flat cakes, cornmeal cakes, whatever it happens to be. Make cakes on the hearth. Abraham runs out to the herd, and he fetched a calf, tender and good, gave it to the young man, and he hastened to dress it. Now, tell me how long this is going to take. She has to get the meal. She's making the cake. She's getting it ready, and she's going to cook them on the hearth there. He goes out and gets a calf, gives it to the young man. There's only one young man that we know about in this whole scenario thus far, and who would that be? That's Ishmael. He gives it to Ishmael, the lad. Give it to the lad, and he hastened to dress it, cut it, get it ready, skin it, and all the rest of it. He took butter. I tried to find out, is that butter? Is that, what's the name of it? Great Lakes butter or whatever it is that you got over here. Actually, it's curdled milk. Now, I don't know. Buttermilk? I'm not going to give you much on that now. I'll be honest with you. My mom used to love buttermilk and cornbread and stuff. I like cornbread and sweet milk, but I can't give you much on buttermilk, just to be honest with you. But if you don't have anything else, I guess you learn to like it. So that's probably buttermilk or whatever. Because he took butter and milk. See it? He took butter and milk, fresh milk, and the calf that he had dressed and set it before them. Now, how long is that going to take? They've killed the calf. They've cut it, dressed it, skinned it, cooked it. We're talking a long time here, right? Maybe they had roasting back in those days. I don't know, high pressure cookers or whatever. I don't know. But he dressed it. He fixed it. So this is common courtesy. Supper, dinner would take hours in times like this. He set it before them. He set it before them. He set it before them. And then he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat. So set the scene for me now. The 3 men are reclining. That has to be the most uncomfortable way to eat. I don't understand why they don't sit. They recline. They lay down to eat. That to me is, and they're eating buttermilk in addition to that. But anyhow, what's Abraham doing? He's standing there with a napkin over. He's the maitre d'. He's standing there to serve them. That again is just common Oriental courtesy. This is the patriarch of God's family, the first family. He's the man that's been given all this property. All of this is going to be yours. It is now. It's going to be yours as soon as you possess it. When these 3 men come up there, he serves them and stands by to take care of all their needs. He's the waiter. He's standing right there. Cakes, rolls, butter, fresh milk. That's just normal stuff. Just normal stuff. The calf, well, that's probably a luxury. I doubt very seriously if they would have gone and got a calf just for Joe Blow coming to town. You know, killing one of the calves. That's serious business. So apparently Abraham is beginning to kind of figure some stuff out. Maybe God's talking to him. I don't know. Doesn't say. Comments? One of them says to him, "Where is Sarah, your wife?" Did they know? Well, of course they knew. One of them did anyhow. "Where is Sarah?" By that first name. That's not Sarai, but Sarah, your wife. And she said, "Well, she's in the tent." That's where a woman's supposed to be, right? Back there in the tent. She's in the tent. Don't read anything into that. She's probably taking care of things like Mary and Martha would have been doing. Moses was led by God to write this, that these three men knew her new name. Whoever they are, let's play dumb now for a little bit here. All right, whoever they are, we know from verse 1, because Moses already let the cat out of the bag, that one of those people is God. Okay, the Lord appeared to Abraham. But whoever they are, they know Sarah's name has been changed. So we're getting a little bit, Abraham might be really kind of following along here. "Where is Sarah, your wife?" And he said, "Well, she's in the tent." And God said, now, we're identifying now, he said, "I'm going to return to you about this time next year, according to the time of life." She's already beyond the age of childbirth, ladies. She's not having periods anymore. This is a miracle. This is another one of those miracles. He said, "I'm going to be back about this time next year when the season of life comes again. When you come back alive, I'm going to be back. And Sarah, your wife, shall have a son." And Sarah heard that. It's past tense. It's actually perfect tense. Perfect tense in language indicates something that took place in the past, and the results go right on into the future. She heard it, and she continued to listen. She's listening to what's going on out there, and of course that would be the case. They're talking about me. "Where is Sarah, your wife?" She's in the tent. Well, she probably perks up, and she said, "God, this person says I'm coming back about this time next year when she comes back to life again." When she comes back alive again, meaning her reproductive organs are going to start functioning again. And Sarah was listening in the tent door, which was behind him. Now we know clearly who this person is, who this visitor is, all right? And Abraham and Sarah were old and well stricken in age. And it ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of women. She could not have children, and neither could he. Verse number 12. Come on. "Then Sarah laughed within herself." Now that's the laugh of unbelief. That's the laugh right there that God's going to call her out on. Abraham laughed, and God didn't call it out because he was not laughing in unbelief. But Sarah laughed within herself. Probably, yeah, right. She didn't say anything. She laughed with, I've put the word incredulity, meaning unbelief. At the thought, this is absolutely impossible. This can't be now. Of course, the same thing happened with Mary, the Virgin Mary. So here we go. This is just something she's saying. Right. After I am waxed old, worn out. I'm worn out. I'm gonna have the pleasure of my Lord is also being old. Also, my Lord, my husband. And the Lord said to Abraham, why did she laugh? I don't know if Abraham heard her or not. I'll leave that up to you theologues to figure that out. She laughed within herself, and God said, the Lord, there he is again, there's that name. The Lord said to Abraham, why did Sarah laugh? What's going on with her? Saying, shall I have a child? Are you kidding me? You mean I'm going to have a child and I'm old? Clearly we know who this is now. We know this is God. Is anything too hard for God? God's asking that question. There is a song, is anything too hard for God? But this is a question that God is asking. The word is anything too wonderful for God? Is anything beyond the scope that He cannot do? At the time appointed, I'm going to be back, and Sarah shall have a son. Now, let's cut her some slack, okay? Anybody willing to do that? She has no clue here. Go, Frank.
Well, she wasn't in the company of these men.
That's right. That's right.
These getting some insight that you didn't get. And I can imagine how she felt. This is a wonderful thing, and it's just not possible. But God didn't approve of the way she thought.
He's not saying she's wrong. He is going to say a little something here to call her out in just a moment. But she had not yet risen to that same level that Abraham has. Now this is nothing against her, not because she's a woman. She just hasn't been privy to the conversation that's going on out there. And that's the same thing that happened with the virgin birth. In that case, Mary knew and Joseph did not. Here Abraham knows and Sarah does not. Both of these births were absolutely miraculous births. Both of them are. It's going to happen again. It happened with Hannah and Samuel. It's going to happen several times over. Is anything too hard for God? Do you know anything God can't do? He can't fail. He can't sin. There's a couple of things He can't do, but this is just going to be. Now look what Sarah does. Now, again, let's don't call her out too much. Sarah denied. Say, I ain't life. That tells me that she kind of chuckled within herself, and she says, I didn't laugh. I did not laugh, for she was afraid. And God said, that's not true. You did. Whoa. Called her out on that one. Again, let's give her some slack now. Let's cut her some slack here. She laughed within herself. She said, I didn't laugh. And God says, now that's not true, Sarah. You did too. You did. And that's the end of it. That's as far as it goes right there. That's all God says. That's not true. You did laugh. I heard you loud and clear. And the lesson had been taught. She gets the message. Abraham gets the message. Sarah got the message. And apparently that's the end of it. It's not going to go any further. God's not going to bring it up again next year. Oh, you didn't believe what I told you. No. He's never going to bring it up again. So this is it. This is all the conversation. That's it. The men get up now. They all get up and look toward Sodom. If you look at your map, you'll find where Hebron is located is kind of in the center. I should have a map in this, I don't. And then Sodom is about 18 miles to the southeast, around the bottom part of the Dead Sea. Edna told us the other day, she said, I'm so old I remember the Dead Sea when it wasn't even sick. The Dead Sea, it's called the Dead Sea because it has no life. It has no outlet. There's no way for fish don't live in the Dead Sea. It's dead. It has no outlet. It's just stagnant water. And Sodom, the men are starting to look down towards Sodom. What are they going to do? Where are they on the way? What are they on the way to do? They're on their way to Sodom. They're on their way down to Sodom to take care of some business there. They looked toward Sodom, and Abraham went with them to bring them on the way. How would that be in Frog Pond English? How would you translate that? He went with them to bring them on the way. Go with them, show them how to get out of the gate or whatever, as if they have to know, but it's just common Oriental courtesy. Notice what God says, and I put this in bigger type. God says to himself, shall I hide from Abraham what I'm about to do? is it really right that I not tell him what I'm about to do? The time has come, folks, for a revelation to Abraham. The time has come now. God is saying, I can't hide this. I can't hide this from him, because he goes on to say, Abraham shall surely become a great nation, a great and mighty nation. All the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him, and I know him. God says, I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him, and keep the way of the Lord to do judgment and justice, that the Lord may bring. He's speaking of the Lord in the third person here. This is God speaking of the Lord in the third person, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he has spoken of him. He's God's friend. And God's friends are permitted to be on the inside of the conversation here. There's several other passages that we could look into. But Abraham is coming to a special point. We're going to start wrapping up here. Abraham is beginning to come to a special place. It's a plateau that very few people have ever been. I would think of Moses, for instance, probably was a man that attained that level. Who else would you? I'm sorry?
Noah.
Noah found grace. That's good. Yeah. Enoch probably walked with God. He attained that level that very few people have ever attained. Anybody else come to mind? Elijah and probably Elisha. Paul, yeah. You do know that you are saved tonight if you are because of Paul, don't you? He's the missionary to the Gentiles. Peter was the home missionary to the Jews. Paul was the foreign missionary to the Gentiles. And you are saved tonight if you are, basically because of Paul. Anybody else in the Bible that would come to mind? Any of the apostles we could probably say, but there are some that just kind of rise to the top. Samuel, interesting. Samuel, the prophet, and the one that was a promised. He was a promised child, a miraculous birth given to God. Very few people, though. What have we named, about 7 or 8 or 9? Now, there are people today whom you might think of that have a relationship that is unique with God. The one, obviously, that's the elephant in the room would be Billy Graham. You would think that he would probably have that relationship, but we don't know. In the Bible, these are people that have that special place of the plateau. I know him. He is my friend. I know him. And so, God's friend. Any thoughts? I'm sorry? David. David had some problems. But don't we all? Didn't Abraham have some problems? Noah had some problems. David is a man after God's own heart. The Lord said, now, we're going to jump ahead here just a little bit. Oh, that's as far as I've got. Okay.
I got one, Brother.
Go.
Well, God could have got there any way he wanted to go. He could have just got right down and Sodom and Gomorrah started. But he wanted us to know today that Abraham held this special place. So that's why this thing took place. So that we know that Abraham's the father of Israel.
He's got to have that relationship, doesn't he? He's got to have it. And like I say, very few people would have that relationship with him. But it's basically like Frank is talking about. He could have done it any way he chose, but he stopped by Abraham's tent there in Hebron, and he knows what Abraham's going to do, doesn't he? What's going to happen? What's he going to do? He's going to start pleading the case of his nephew Lot. He knows that's going to happen. And he clearly, God is not begrudgingly giving in as Abraham begs and pleads with him to grant that. No, he knows what's going to happen. But here's the man after God's own heart, the friend of God. He is my friend. I know him. I know that he will command his children and his household after him. They shall keep the way of the Lord to do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he has spoken of him. He is speaking of himself, God is, in the third person there. All right, any thoughts or comments about this? We'll stop right there. Remember, on Sunday after church is barbecue. If you don't like barbecue, you come anyhow. You can eat coleslaw. You can you can eat a bun or something. It is to help. It's to help with the Washington trip, as Sophie says. The Washington trip. So, okay. Any thoughts or comments before we go? All right. Let's have a word of prayer. Thank you, Lord, for your blessings to us. Thank you for this friend of God, this one who had this relationship with you, and he shows it. Now, he made some mistakes, Lord, so have we all. And still in all, you bring us back. You brought him back, you bring us back. And we thank you for the opportunity that we have to be in the family of God. We can all, in this church, we can all be friends of God. We all can have that relationship with you because of your blessed Son, Jesus the Christ, who purified us and sanctified us and made us your very own children. Thank you, Lord, for that. Bless now in a very special way tonight. Help us in all that we do. Help us bring back this place again on Sunday morning as we think about the promises that your Son, Jesus Christ, made to be with us forever. We give you the praise for it all. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. And amen. God bless you, folks. Pick up the bread now.